In this episode, you'll discover how to identify your inner critic, rewrite the patterns that are holding you back, and move closer to your true reason for being, or Ikigai. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. In this episode, you'll discover why your inner critic so often sounds like wisdom, and how that voice quietly shapes your decisions without you realizing it, and how identifying it is a key to moving towards your Ikigai, or your true reason for being. If you've ever felt stuck despite being intelligent and capable, if you've ever told yourself you just need more clarity, this episode will help you see what might actually be standing in your way and what becomes possible once you name it. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope you're doing really well. I just returned from some international travel to both India and Colombia, and both destinations are where my two sons will be getting married in the next year and a half or so. And they were amazing countries, both of them obviously, and as I travel, it never ceases to amaze me how much more we are all similar versus our differences. I don't take it lightly that you're tuning into this show from whichever corner of the world that you are in. I want to tell you that I hear you, I understand you, and I feel you. The universal things that I felt during my travels were really the love of family, general decency and respect, and how simple pleasures like food can bring us all together. I know the world seems very difficult right now, but I want you to remember that you have the ability to focus on yourself and how you bring love, decency, respect, and encouragement in your own way into the world. While we all have the ability to access and promote positive things around us, often we are stifled by our own thoughts. And this is what I'd like to speak about today, and something I see so often in the people that I coach, and that is when your inner critic begins to sound like wisdom. What is your inner critic? Or often what I refer to as your gremlin. A gremlin or inner critic is that inner voice that tells you in one way or another that you're not good enough. Gremlins are often formed in childhood as a way to protect ourselves from feeling embarrassed or ashamed or rejected or hurt, and they can limit us from taking chances and enjoying and living our fullest lives. While the gremlin truly just wants to keep us safe, our egos interpret the gremlin's messages as some form of, I'm not good enough. Not understanding the gremlin and its messages keeps us limited and causes us to play small. And the gremlin usually shows up when we're feeling insecure or uncertain, unmotivated or afraid, or getting ready to start something new. And it can be like an overprotective parent. It's trying to keep you safe by keeping you in your comfort zone to protect you from failure. In fact, so many of us are so used to living with the limitations of our gremlins that we don't even recognize our gremlins when they appear. Everyone has a gremlin or inner critic, and the way to uncover it is to ask ourselves, what messages come up that cause you, even for a moment, to hesitate in moving forward in your life in any way? Some examples of gremlin messages are, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not experienced or qualified enough. I'm not lovable, or I'm not valuable or deserving or worthy. I'm not important. I'm not strong enough, or I'm not persistent enough. What gremlin messages are showing up for you right now? Have you ever noticed that the moment you seriously consider changing something in your life, your mind suddenly becomes very rational? You might feel a spark about something, or maybe a quiet excitement about exploring something new, or asking for more, or stepping into something bigger. And almost immediately, another voice enters. And it doesn't yell, it doesn't insult you, it just sounds responsible. And it may say things like, be careful. You've worked too hard to risk this. You don't want to look foolish. And you're not qualified enough. At this stage of life, shouldn't you just be grateful? And because that voice sounds so mature and logical and grounded, you listen to it. And it's not because you lack courage or you don't know what you want. It's because you may be mistaking fear for wisdom. And that, more than anything, is the main reason I see smart people like you get stuck. I work with very accomplished and thoughtful and deeply capable people. From the outside, their lives look stable and impressive even, but underneath there's friction. They may say things like, I don't know why I feel unsettled, my life is good, or maybe I'm just overthinking things, or I just need some more clarity. But as we talk, what becomes clear is this. It's not lack of clarity, but it's that there's this little voice inside them that sounds so reasonable that they never thought to question it. And that happened to me too. When I was still in my corporate career before I became a coach, I remember sitting at my desk feeling the steady pull towards something else, coaching, personal development, working more meaningfully with women navigating change. And it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet but persistent. But immediately another voice followed, and this voice said, who are you to pivot? You studied biology and business. You don't have the credentials. In our culture, you pick a path and stick to it. Don't be irresponsible. Coming from a traditional Indian upbringing, the messages to me were clear. Education determines your path, and stability equals success. Deviating from that plan was risky. That sentence that kept repeating was simple, is that I'm not qualified enough. So I listened to my inner critic so much so that I didn't make a move for at least 2 years before another more positive voice took over and I couldn't stay where I was anymore. And here's what's very important. Your inner critic doesn't feel like fear, it feels like logic. The gremlin voice rarely sounds dramatic or cruel. It sounds protective and mature and sensible. And that's why it's so powerful. I see this with clients all the time. For example, a woman in a respected scientific field feels pulled towards something creative, but the gremlin says, you'll lose credibility, so she stays. Another one wants to apply for a leadership role, and the gremlin says, you're not ready, so she waits. Another feels drained and in her current career, and the gremlin says, you have benefits, you have stability, don't be so dramatic. So she rationalizes. And what happens is that years pass, and it isn't collapse, it's a quiet erosion. The internal cost of listening to your inner critic is subtle but profound. You override your intuition enough times that it grows quiet. You stop asking what you want and instead start asking what makes sense. You become excellent at functioning, but you feel less alive. I remember that because I felt that way too. And then there's the external cost. When you delay a pivot for 2 or 5 years because it feels safer, that's not neutral. That's 5 years of potential expansion that doesn't happen. It's 5 years of creativity that doesn't surface. It's 5 years of leadership you don't step into. Your inner critic doesn't just protect you from failure, it also protects you from growth. And growth is where your energy lives. In my coaching framework, I talk about obstacles as energy blocks. Some are outer blocks. Those are real constraints like credentials or finances or logistics that you must practically deal with to move forward. But the inner blocks are often more powerful. And these are what we say to ourselves. This is, for example, the inner critic or gremlin that I just talked about. And there are other blocks, like assumptions. Assumptions are an expectation that because something has happened in the past, it will happen again. We could tell ourselves, because I struggled once, I'll struggle again. Or interpretations. Interpretations are stories or opinions or judgments that you create about an event or situation and believe it to be true. For example, we could tell ourselves, if I leave, it means I've failed. And then there are limiting beliefs. And these are generalizations or stereotypes or ideas that you've learned and accepted about yourself or the world that limit you in some way. And these often come from childhood or from society that you accept about yourself. For example, at my age, it's just too late. And these, my friend, are not facts, these are stories. And these are stories that you've repeated so often that they feel true. And the hardest part is that these blocks live inside your head and take over your intelligence and your maturity, your responsibility, and your logic. But it does not have to be that way. Your inner critic is not you. It is an external voice which shows up when you're about to make a transition or change in your life. When you remember that, it changes everything. The shift for me happened when I stopped asking, am I qualified enough? And started asking, is that a fact or is that fear? Because once I separated the voice from my identity, I could see options. I could get training. I could build gradually. I didn't have to jump off a cliff. I could build a runway. And that changed everything. When you identify your gremlin or inner critic honestly, something very real shifts. Decision-making becomes lighter. You stop spinning for months. You stop waiting for perfect certainty. And you begin acting from alignment instead of protection. That's because when your energy changes from fear to alignment and hope, and that is when you take aligned and permanent action, which can change your life. I've watched this unfold again and again. A woman who believed that she wasn't qualified enough to apply for the role and realized that she was more prepared than she thought. Another who thought she was too late started something small and discovered that she hadn't missed her moment at all. And another finally has the conversation she's been avoiding for years, and instead of catastrophe, there's clarity. That shift isn't dramatic fireworks, it's steadiness. It's waking up and feeling like your life is being directed by you, not by a sentence that formed when you were 25 years old. You feel lighter and more energized, ready and excited for what your day is going to bring to you. Your inner guidance always knows the right path, and when there is friction between your inner guidance and what you actually are doing in your life, that's when we stall. It's time to listen to our inner guidance, or what we call our inner mentors, not our inner critics. I will discuss what your inner mentor is in the next episode, but for now know that you have an inner guide or mentor that knows exactly what is right for you. When you listen to your inner mentor over your inner critic, that is when the real magic happens, my friend. And this is where your Ikigai becomes real. Your reason for being isn't hidden from you. It's often buried under the protection of your inner critic. This is what happens. When your obstacles lessen, your energy returns. When your energy returns, your flow increases. And when your flow increases, you naturally move towards what feels meaningful and useful and aligned. You move towards naturally what you are meant to be doing or how you are meant to be living, or your Ikigai, or reason for being. You don't have to force your Ikigai, you uncover it by slowly peeling away at the layers of blocks that are covering it, one by one. And this is what we do, and why I include this in my Pyramid of Reinvention framework. We don't skip the obstacle layer for a reason. You cannot fully step into your vision while an unexamined belief is quietly steering your decisions. But once you name it, it loses power. Your gremlin or inner critic is not permanent. It is a pattern you are so used to following. But I want you to hear this. Patterns can be rewritten. They actually must be rewritten if you're going to move towards your Ikigai. So if you're listening to this and you know there's something you've been circling, something that feels aligned but slightly scary, and you keep telling yourself you just need more clarity, pause. What is a sentence that shuts you down? That sentence is your inner critic or gremlin. And until you identify it, it will keep deciding for you. And I don't want that for you. So if you're ready to start letting that voice quietly dictate your next decade, if you're ready to understand exactly which assumption or belief is standing between you and your reason for being, I invite you to discuss it with me. Don't think that you are broken. What you are experiencing is perfectly normal. Remember what I said in the beginning? When we identify what is blocking you, clarity emerges. And clarity is what moves you closer to your Ikigai, not in theory, but in lived experience. You don't need to become fearless, you just need to become aware. And from that awareness, your next chapter opens, and it's aligned, it's energizing, and it's truly yours. I'd love to help you identify your inner critic. What is that voice that is stopping you from moving forward? And why is it there? You deserve to know. If you want to discuss this with me, follow the first link in the show notes to book a clarity call with me. Perhaps my worldview is too positive, but I firmly believe that positivity starts from within each of us, each and every one of us. And when we become positive and aligned with who we truly are, we can become unstoppable. Thank you for listening, and until next time, be very well.